we are going to demonstrate how to plant a tree. We've had this Scots pine in a container for several years, and it's gone from container to container as a little small seedling, but now this is the year we're going to plant it. A container grown plant can be planted at any time of the year, but it does have to be watered. You do have to ensure that if you're planting it out of the dormant season, which is between November and March, that you really watch for the watering. So we mark out the position, and we're allowing at least 2 times the width of roots for a bare root tree and 20 centimetres around the outside of a container grown tree. The hole should be no deeper than the root ball. And when you're digging, make sure that you don't dig any deeper than the nursery mark at the base of the stem for a bare root, or to the depth of a container if it's a container grown one. You can check the depth we keep checking, so we pop the pot in, and you can see here it probably needs another inch or so taken out the bottom of that hole before it's ready. The hole is big enough. It's not really necessary to add any organic matter or fertiliser or anything to planting holes for trees. You only generally do that if the soil is very, very heavy clay, or it's just very light, very, very sandy. You might need to add a little bit of well-rotted organic matter just to help with the structure of your soil. There's various ways of making these planting holes. One of them is that you make the shape of the hole a square shape, and that's supposed to allow the roots of the plant to reach out to those corners rather than encouraging a kind of circular shape of the roots where they just have the equivalent of being pot bound. Also be a bit careful of smearing. You can see on the side of that hole there that where the spade went down, the soil has smeared. So if that's the case, just loosen it up a little bit with your fork. It's important to remove any weeds or perennial roots, stones, turf or grass that are in or around the planting area. Avoid doing this if the soil is really wet or frozen, and also avoid digging within the root spread of established trees or shrubs. If the soil is considerably wet, you might actually consider whether you've planted the right tree for that place. Most small trees don't need to be staked. It's only as you plant the larger trees, and the purpose of a stake is really just to stop the roots rocking. There's no other reason. It's purely to protect those roots. Once you have filled in and straightened the tree, this is still a bit wonky, this one, but we're getting there. Great demonstration from Mr. G. You then firm in around the roots there, and you could do this with your heel, and this will help to straighten up the tree as well. If you have a problem with rabbits or deer, you can get rabbit guards or deer guards. They're like a plastic spiral that wraps around the base of the stem there and avoids them eating. At this stage we might look to prune that lower branch off, just to help. It's not necessary there, so we'll just snip that off, and that will give us a straighter stem as the tree starts to grow. Lastly then, once the tree is planted, it's important just to keep it free of any vegetation for at least 3 years, and that avoids any competition for weeds. You can use mulch to do that, so wood mulch is fine, but always ensure that you leave a 10 centimetre gap around the stem or the trunk to avoid a problem with bark rotting. Once the tree's in place and you're happy with the positioning, then just water it, and that's it really. So this is just a temporary planting place actually for this tree. We are planning to get all the little saplings planted this year and even the bare roots, but we're not in a position to do that right now, so we're just going to make a little nursery bed and keep all the trees here, and they might end up staying in this little patch until the autumn when we get to plant out again, but for now we know that they're safe and secure here and not going to get any more pot bound in their containers.
So if I want to prune this side branch off, you can see where it comes out of the main stem, there's like a little collar. So we prune to that. There we go.
And you can see there the direction of the prune. If any rainwater lands on that cut, it runs away from the stem rather than into it, which will help prevent any rotting. Also, you don't cut right onto that collar that Ian mentioned, you cut just slightly above it. Ensure your secateurs are clean and sharp and that you get a really nice sharp cut when you're doing any pruning like that. And you can see now that's a much tidier looking stem for this tree to take root. Thank you, Ian.